to the tech guys here. It's now streaming live. Okay, we can get started then. We have a quorum, so I'm going to call the meeting to order now. And first thing I'd like to do is make sure everyone's got a copy of the agenda and the consent agenda with their packets they got. So I'm going to ask that we vote to approve the consent agenda. Do I have to vote to? Let me just check something here. Do I have to vote for the agenda as well as the consent agenda? Yes, I do. Okay, sorry about that. First, we need to vote for the agenda itself. So I need someone to make a motion to approve the agenda as submitted in your packets.
I move to approve.
A second.
Okay. And we'll just go through this one. Chris?
Aye.
Emily?
Aye.
Okay. Barbara?
Aye. Aye.
Okay. And Sharon?
Aye.
Okay. Brent? Is Brent with us yet?
No.
No. Okay. He said he was probably going to be late if he makes it at all. Garrett?
No.
Okay. And Janet?
Aye.
Gail?
Aye.
Okay. And I voted aye. So the consent, the agenda passes with two not present and everyone else aye. And we'll go on to the consent agenda next real quick. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda as written.
So moved.
Okay, Gail, in a second.
A second.
Okay, Barbara, thank you. Okay, and I'll just do that roll call again because I have to. Chris?
Aye.
Emily?
Aye.
Okay, Barbara?
Aye.
Sharon?
Aye.
And we still don't have Brent. We still don't have Garrett. Janet?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
I bet Janet's muted.
No.
How about Gail's an aye, okay.
Aye.
Okay, and I'm an aye, so we are good with those. Public comment period. I don't believe we have, no one is registered, asked to say anything, but I'll open it up. Are there any public comments? Anyone listening to us would like to say anything right now? No. Okay, we're going to jump right into the reports. Library friends, Clay or Ruth, I guess. Who do we have? Do we have
There we
somebody?
go, just looking for the mute button again. Yeah, the Friends, we actually have our next full board meeting next Wednesday. And again, we have not been having a lot of activity. We are now accepting by appointment only donations to our book sales.
Oh.
And but people need to call and leave a message if they have to, but by appointment only, because there's only one person who actually currently is available to take in donations, and masks are appreciated. Boxed books are appreciated, not loose. We received recently a van full of books, all loose, no boxes. I heard it was a chore. I wasn't there to witness it. We have been thinking about having a book sale in the park out in the summer, but it hasn't been organized yet. We seem to have a lack of volunteers to do that work. It would be a bit of work. And I am recommending to the board that we do try to hold our fall book sale in the fall. And that is really the extent of our activities to this point.
Okay. Well, it sounds like you may have more after Wednesday, after your meeting next week. And things are holding together, at least with COVID here. You're still have been able to move up collections and things, and that's great. You're taking them even in that limited fashion. Any questions for Ruth?
I have a question about the fall book sale. Are you hoping to have that indoors?
I hope so. I see Scott shaking his head, so I think that will be possible. I don't know at this point if we might need to limit the number of people that come in, first come, first serve type thing. But I hope that we will be at a point where we can hold it indoors.
Right.
Great.
Great. Ruth, thank you so much. We're going to just move right on to the foundation report. And Susan, are you doing that, or Scott? I've got both of you written down for that.
No, I'm happy to take a
Great.
run at it. Thank you. I appreciate that. Glad to be here. On Saturday, April 17th, Jen Duell at Maine hosted a virtual edition of our YAVA, which is the Young Adult Virginia Author event. The program highlights excellence in writing for readers at the middle and high school level by Virginia authors. And this year's winner is award-winning poet Bryn Rebely Henry's debut novel Orpheus Girl, which reimagines the Orpheus myth from a modern, diverse perspective. The foundation supported the event with a $1,000 check sent to the winner with her award. This year we had 26 attendees. So we're chalking that up as a win. Moving on to grant activities. The ALA COVID Library Relief Fund will provide $1.25 million for a number of public, school, academic, and tribal libraries across the U.S. and U.S. territories that have experienced substantial economic hardship due to the coronavirus pandemic. Grants will be awarded between $30,000 and $50,000 to libraries and library systems that have seen a substantial reduction in funding to provide essential services to underserved populations in low to moderate income groups. Funds can be used to help reestablish, sustain, amplify, or create new services for those targeted audiences. Grant funds are to support libraries through December 31st, 2021. The deadline for submissions is May 20th, and grants will be announced on June 23rd. Given the 9% reduction in funding experienced by the library system, the foundation will apply on behalf of the library with a $50,000 request for funding. And then finally, briefly regarding our upcoming board retreat, thank you, Bill, for sharing the agenda with everybody on the trustee board, and thank you for your comments. The agenda is currently under development, and any ideas shared here today or via email will be shared with Marshall as we get ready to host the event in September. Does anybody have any questions or comments about that right now?
Chris, did you want to bring up a couple of thoughts you had on that?
Sure. I had 3 thoughts. The first is the most important, Susan, for me, maybe not for anybody else. When it gets to the action plan or next steps, I think that's a perfect opportunity for breakout groups. It allows more ideas to be generated. It allows everyone to have a voice. I think it's a plus, and it's the key part of the entire, I mean, everything leads up to the action plan. So my first suggestion is breakout groups, give lots of time for people to talk, and then synthesize the comments. The second thought I had, again, these next 2 are less important, but just slightly less important. I would love for the entire board of trustees to be invited. If we are not all invited, I'd like to get a large number of us to be able to attend. We have a number of strong constituencies that we represent and great idea people. So that would be my second point. And my final point, Susan, is I think a facilitator or at least a dedicated person taking notes would help us capture and then be able to cogitate over everything that we learned. So those were my 3 ideas that I sent forward.
Excellent ideas. Thank you so much. Those are all great suggestions, and I'll definitely share those with Marshall as well.
And you probably had them all. So.
I appreciate them, that's for sure.
Any other comments at this point? No. I think it is a good agenda that Marshall had sent out, and it covers a lot of what we talked about when we had a sort of a planning meeting for this a while ago. Chris, you were at that meeting.
Right.
I think that we do want to have the whole board there if we can, or at least most of the board if possible. That would help a lot. I think we didn't really mention it, if I recall, in there, but you know, the fundraising is obviously a big part of this. If you saw at the very end of it, it closes with that a bit. I think we also need to think about the 100-year anniversary and some of those details. So, you know, they don't need to be in the agenda, but we'll be coming around to those. One thing I would say is, Keith's talking about September. We probably need in the next month or two for people to say if they have absolute dates that are out for them in September. And I believe, Susan, we're talking about this as a one-day thing, not a multi-day. Is that correct?
That's my understanding.
Okay. So, you know, sort of look at your calendars maybe. I know it's a long way out still, but in the next couple of months, we should try to lock that in a little bit as to dates that work best for people. Okay. Susan, thank you so much. It's great to see you at the helm there, the fundraising efforts for the foundation and doing that work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Scott, we'll jump into your report next.
I guess the big thing I have to report on is that the library reopened all locations on April 5th. I think that it's in here, but we are open and for limited access. So we started with 20 people being able to enter for an hour at Main and 6 people for a half an hour at all of the branches. Since that time, numbers are looking better. Our staff are getting vaccinated, and we've slightly increased the numbers at the branches. Clay, have we moved to 10 at the branches for an hour? Is that what we've done pretty much across the board?
Yes.
So slowly turning it up. Haven't really experienced any problems. We're still continuing to do our virtual programs. Susan mentioned the YAVA award last weekend. Or a couple weekends ago. And then tonight we have Elijah Cummings, widow and an author of a book about him. We have copies of that book available if anybody would like it. This is that book. It's pretty good. I think we have copies we can share with you, but the author and his widow Maya will be online tonight to talk about the book and tell you more about Elijah Cummings, who passed away in, I believe it was late 2019.
2020.
He was quite an influence in Congress. We also have Richmond's poet laureate tonight leading a poetry jam about at the same time. So you kind of have to pick and choose, or if you can open up dual Zoom windows, you can kind of multitask, but we have that going on. So since we've opened to the public, we're continuing to do contact tracing. So people are signing a logbook when they come in, and they're also submitting to a temperature check. We'll continue that for the foreseeable future. But I just see us kind of just trying to open up more and more. So we're definitely in a better space than we were a couple months ago. So I'm just, we're remaining hopeful that we can start returning to normal. We've started talking about in-person programming in September. So we're starting to plan those sorts of big steps. So that is probably the biggest news I have, in addition to the reports. I have some stuff to add on the budget, and I can help Janet with the facilities committee report. Were there any other questions from my report?
I have a question.
You go first.
Oh,
I do have a question though.
Mine's a little question. Has anyone been turned away after the temperature check?
I don't think so.
At this point, it's only for failure to wear a mask, or agree to wear a mask rather, before they enter.
And we have masks for people. If they don't have a mask, we can offer them a paper mask. We ask that they wear the mask properly when they're in the space, because they're staying here longer than, like a trip to the grocery store. But as of yesterday, when the CDC announced their guidelines, I have a feeling we're going to have more people who are saying, I don't even need to wear a mask anymore. So that's where we're headed. And it already actually started yesterday. So
Are we gonna continue to enforce our policy or change it or relax it or what?
no, we're going to follow the state's mandate on masks. As long as we have masks in place, we'll be wearing masks if we're as long as the governor has it. It'll be interesting to see when we move programming outside how we'll do that. I think if you're congregating in groups outside, you're still supposed to wear a mask. But if you're, in your pod or with people and I think you can go mask-free, maskless. But these new changes are gonna kind of cause other problems. But hopefully, as we all get vaccinated and the virus starts to hopefully decrease in numbers, we'll be able to open up more. So, gosh, I was looking at, if you look at the statistics, it's interesting to see, you can tell exactly last year where we closed the door and just started figuring things out. And our numbers are holding okay. I'm going to be pleased. I'm going to be hopeful that they start going up now that we're open. So we're allowing people into the libraries to browse and use the computers. On Monday, the VDH has expanded their signing people up for vaccine, and they contacted us to ask us if we would assist with that. And we've been doing that since we opened the door on April 5th. If somebody comes in and says, I need help getting the vaccine, we guide them to a computer or give them the phone number to speak with a representative from the VDH to help them register for a vaccine. So the big deal right now is I think there's plenty of vaccine. We just have to get people connected to it that want it.
Scott, is there any discussion of asking people if they've been vaccinated, and if not, offering to do that, to connect them when they come in?
We haven't done that. No.
Might be something we could consider. I don't know if that's too pushy, but if people are coming in, we're taking the temperature and making them wear a mask, we could casually ask. And if they say, no, I haven't been vaccinated yet, say, well, would you like us to help you sign up for that?
I know VDH is going to provide us with some sidewalk signs.
Okay.
So they're going to provide us with signs that will say, hey, got vaccine, or, got milk, something like that. So hopefully they're really trying to increase their promotion of getting people connected to the vaccine, and you'll start seeing pop-ups in the community and walk-up vaccinations. So a whole lot different than it was 3 months ago.
God, I have a question. I noticed that Chesterfield Library did a big deal about the same thing that you're doing, and they did commercials on TV saying that Chesterfield libraries were available to help persons find vaccine. So as a part of what they're doing, it would be really good if that, it's worth looking at, making certain that some of that word got out as well, that the library is a resource.
Yeah, that's what we agreed to with the Department of Health. So they have sent us that messaging and are letting people know that they can visit a library and they'll get assistance to sign up for the vaccine.
I'd only seen the one for Chesterfield on TV. So yeah.
Other than social media, do we have any type of publicity channel or?
So we have our website. We also have people responsible to communicate our messages on social media. So we have somebody who supports Instagram, a librarian supports Twitter, and then we have a librarian that supports Facebook. So they're broadcasting information on that. We also have the public access TV channel, which came over here in 2019. Right now, we're not doing any in-studio production, but some messaging goes out over the cities. They have a government channel, they have an education channel, and ours is the education channel. So I believe they're promoting things like that. And then the city of Richmond has a site dedicated called RVA Strong, which promotes anything to do with resources needed during the pandemic. They've been running that for almost a year now. And then in the next few weeks, the city is going to decommission their current website. You might be used to going to richmondgov.com. That is going to be kind of mothballed. They're not going to provide any content to it, and they're going to start driving people to a new Richmond website. I believe it's RVA I can't remember the URL right now, but RVA is in the title, and that will become the new website for the city of Richmond. It will have a different look. They're promising streamlined continuity. The city is also starting an office of engagement who will oversee that website, and the former 311 communication will go out over that. So through all of those things, we're providing information about what's going on with the library, and they're pushing it out over their channels as we push it out over ours. But in terms of just the broadcast media, television stations, it depends on if you pop on their radar because they're also looking at all of that stuff. So I'm not sure how Chesterfield was it an actual commercial with Chesterfield Library people?
Yes.
Huh.
It was inside the library. It was well done.
Wow.
Yeah, I saw it as well, and it was effective. I was hoping we could do something similar.
Well, hopefully someday we'll have that star power.
Right.
We have.
Mm.
I think we do, but
Yeah.
May I ask, in your report, Nancy Buck is going to be a huge loss.
yes, we're happy and sad all at the same time.
Right. A well-deserved retirement. Is there any opportunity to have crossover employment for training by Nancy, inside track? She has such a long history of the library that it would, in multiple branches, that I think it might be helpful if there is that possibility, and certainly getting somebody in as a priority. But gosh, when I spoke to Susan recently, she was talking about how much Nancy had shared with her with ideas. So
I begged and pleaded Nancy not to retire, but I tried to throw money at her. She's when you're ready to go, you're ready to go. But Nancy has touched every level of our library. She was a Westover Hills branch manager. She had a long history at Central Rappahannock and worked under a fabulous library director up there for many years. And we don't have a lot of opportunities to have librarians as skilled as Nancy. She has done just an amazing and remarkable job with our collection development and helping us, address so many issues with our library collection that, we have some depth, and we have a pretty large collection, but we have a collection in need of a lot of maintenance. And Nancy has helped develop a strategy for that, and also a replacement plan for that, and also responsible for adding new books to the collection. And at the end of the day, our collection is probably the most important thing that we provide our citizens. So you're right, Gail. It's going to be a challenge to find anybody with the skill sets that Nancy has in terms of collection development. I'm going to be hopeful, but I think we're going to have to split some of her duties into other positions, and we're going to have either create some positions or add some duties to other staff and have staff step up, which I'm sure they'll be able to do. But yeah, Clay and I are putting our heads together trying to figure out, and if you have ideas, I definitely welcome those. But yeah, we need to have a big party for Nancy, who I'm happy for.
I was going to say huge party for her.
Yeah.
Board members may not know that Nancy was the brainchild behind the rain gardens at Westover Hill and that whole program that has expanded. And the city has recognized it and hoping to expand more. So she's contributed in many ways, and yes, deserves a huge party.
So I think that hits many of the big things. We had a nice National Library Week. Ripple visited some of our locations. And then this week, the governor visited the library to sign legislation to advocate for, he's starting a new advisory committee, and it's being memorialized in legislation that'll be representative of the LGBTQ plus community. So he came to Richmond Library with the First Lady, Pam Northam, and they signed that legislation. Ms. Northam gave a very nice speech on they selected Richmond Public Library because in the 80s and 90s, our library was the one place in Richmond where the LGBTQ plus community could meet. If they met in other places, they would be harassed. Apparently the police, if they met in places, and they would rouse them or hassle them under the pretense that they were consuming alcohol without a license. And so they could come to the library, and they were protected under the library's meeting room policy, because they wouldn't be drinking alcohol in the library and being up to, a public nuisance. So it's just remarkable how all that came to light. But the legislation that he signed will formalize. He has these advisory groups at state level that advise him on issues. So he has a women's committee, and he has a Asian American and a Latino committee and now he'll have an LGBTQ committee that will report to him and give him advice on issues. He has African American committee. So that's a big deal in state government. So it was a nice event, and Susan assisted me with kind of meeting all of the secretaries of the Commonwealth. The Secretary of Agriculture was here, Information Technology. So Susan brought a bunch of our Ripple masks. So we got some nice pictures of the governor in a Ripple mask. And they did it in Library Park, so it was all socially distanced. And it was a very nice event. Last minute, they contacted me on Friday and said, hey, we need to do this. So, okay.
Was Ripple there?
Well, Ripple couldn't make it. It was a thought, but he was envisioned, he was emblazoned in our mask. So, we're getting some good mileage out of Ripple. We've gotten some new images. I think this might be I think this is an older image of Ripple. Here's a coat. This is a newer image of Ripple. We have these new little mugs. Hopefully when we meet again, you guys will get a nice little thermal mug as kind of a swag for our promotional items. So very exciting.
The governor did the newscast had him with the mask on. The Ripple
Oh,
mask.
wow.
I was so shocked when I saw it, and then I said they're in the park. Yeah, but that was neat. So you got publicity. We got publicity. Yeah.
See, every little step, a little star power, Barbara.
That's true. That's true.
That's awesome. I can't think of anything else. Clay, could you think of anything else that we need to update the board on of operations or things?
Can't think of anything big at the moment. We did conclude the successful programs for staff with Velvetrees.
Yeah.
This past week, everybody enjoyed that. If you wanted to say anything about that.
We had public historian Elvitris Belshis come and speak to our staff. We used Zoom because one of the things that we did in the past is we had a program called IE, which was a staff training, and we would have staff visit all the different branches. And it was very challenging to train staff that way. But with Zoom, we were able to reach all of our staff in locations, and then they can go back to work. So at 9 in the mornings, we've had presentations. So we had Elvitra Belshis, who's a local historian, do a presentation on Maggie Walker, Rosa Bowser. She talked about famous African-American women who really influenced the city of Richmond early on. And everyone walked away with learning more about our community and our library. And it's just kind of an exciting buildup and helpful in educating our staff in our community. So it was a positive thing. We'll definitely continue that. So that was a big thing. And if you would like a copy of that Elijah Cummings book, please send Jonna an email, and we'll make sure we get a copy to you. Or if you want to, and we could send it out to a branch if you want. It's a pretty good book. And again, tonight they'll be speaking, the author and Maya Cummings will be speaking on the book. So that was one that came to us, and we're happy to put it on. So.
Okay. Well, Scott, thank you. We'll move into the committee reports, and I don't have a whole lot to say as chair at this point. I think we're continuing to move along through the COVID reopening, and I would compliment Scott and his entire staff on doing a great job of getting us further along that. I think the doubling of the hours, or the going from half an hour to an hour in the branches plus more spots, has been a big improvement just in the last week and a half or two here. And I think we are getting to the point we're going to be, I hope, getting back to more normal focus on a lot of things, be able to really engage the community in person a lot more than we have been. So that's just fantastic to see. I think the biggest focus, right now from us, besides when we get together with the multi-board, is really from finance, facilities, and that strategic plan. Next month, I think we should be in the spot that we can meet in person. And in meeting in person, I think we can start back into reviewing that strategic plan, modifying it, updating it, and so on. Much easier to do than trying to do it with Zoom with spreadsheets and things there. And obviously, Scott, I guess you are going to fill in for Garrett. We don't have Garrett yet, do we?
I'm here.
I haven't. No, we do have Garrett. Okay. Oh, okay. So Garrett, I'm going to throw it over to you and Scott to hit the finance committee aspect of things.
Sounds good. Good afternoon, everyone. Just a few quick things I just wanted to update you on is that on April the 8th, I actually was able to connect with Madam President Cynthia Newbill through a Zoom meeting and was able to talk to her and kind of really get her to understand what our overall needs are from the Richmond Public Library. She was very receptive to the information that I provided. She asked me to actually send over as much information as I possibly could so she could take a look at it with her liaison, Samuel Patterson. So we are scheduled to circle back next week on that particular topic. So I just wanted to let you guys know that, definitely pushing this as much as I possibly can to get traction on this. Obviously, as I mentioned, meeting before last, I serve on a separate community organization called Richmond Together, which we're going to meet tomorrow. So Chris and Barbara, you'll be getting an invite for this meeting because we didn't end up meeting last month as we anticipated. But one thing we're actually getting ready to send out is a notification to City Council and also the Mayor's administration about the America's Care Act and really being able to utilize that funding that's coming to localities. I think a little bit that we're seeing from City Council is that there's a little bit of hesitation and being creative in how they're going to utilize those dollars. So the purpose of our communication that we're going to send out either this afternoon or tomorrow is to be creative, to be innovative in the overall approach. And tying that to that is actually being able to get the dollars that we need for the library as well. So we can be able to return back to FY 2020 budget, but also be able to, push for some new things that maybe we haven't even thought of yet. So that's where we currently stand right now. I'm super excited that at least I was able to make contact with her and get her ear, because I know she's driving a lot of the conversations for the council, and hopefully we have a favorable, decision in the coming weeks.
Thank you, Garrett. Scott, do you want to give a little information on what's been going on in the budget meetings and things?
Yeah, they haven't made a lot of headway, to be honest with you. They met on Monday and hashed over kind of stuff they've been hashing over for a while. There were a bunch of amendments put in on Monday, and they started down the road with some of those and got stuck on the pay plan and throwing out the pay plan or doing a new survey. Or I've heard this morning that they're not going to proceed with that, and they're going to move on to something else. So they'll probably move back this afternoon. They're supposed to meet at 1 o'clock, and they'll have another 2 hours to talk about things. So it'll be interesting to see what amendments they kind of hit it during that time. The big elephant in the room is that America Act that's coming down. And on Monday night, they had a lobbyist come and talk about just a little bit about some of the dollars that are coming to the city. And I wrote this down. It said the city is supposed to get $158 million, and they're going to find out more about it in the next 60 to 90 days. And then they said the schools were going to get $122 million. That's in addition to the 166. And then I think the state is supposed to get a bunch of money that they haven't allocated yet. And they're going to go into special session in June and send more money. Garrett, correct me if I'm wrong. That's what I thought I heard.
No, you nailed it. Spot on. Figures are exactly what it is.
And I don't think we even know what we're going to get from the state yet. And so the wrangling for how these dollars are coming is kind of this just elephant in the room that, they spend hours hashing over like $10 million is what $10 to $20 million out of an $800 million budget. And they can't really, they're not taking any steps to like say, well, we know we're going to get money for this. This is one-time money, so we can set aside. They're not doing that right now. So it's going to be curious to see where they go next. Councilor Jones put an amendment to cut us another like 10%, all city agencies that received any sort of increase. So he was going to cut us another $200,000. I don't know where that amendment is at. I don't know where that's going to go, but hopefully that will get pulled off the table. That was the only kind of damaging amendment that I saw in these amendments that went through. I don't know that he has any support in all of his amendments, but we'll see where that goes. But at this point, they haven't resolved really anything. Would you say that's correct, Garrett?
That's spot on. I think that's exactly why we're kind of pushing for our release to go out either this afternoon or tomorrow, because we are kind of in the same place. We feel that it's a little bit of like a stalemate, discussions. Nothing really is happening. So we really want to help them navigate that as much as we can from a citizen organization.
It seems like council staff, their council person, not the council person, but their staff in charge of presenting the budget to them, Eckelberger, is doing a pretty good job of dissecting things. It's just the path forward for them is not apparent. And I think they're still trying to figure that out. But again, it seems like they're hashing over $15-20 million for hours.
And Scott, it looks from what I'm hearing and from what you and I've talked about and reading that it's going to be a two-step process. The budget is going to get approved. We're probably going to be 8 to 10% below what we had hoped. Is that? Yeah. But then it's going to be that fight for those CARES Act dollars, the money coming out in the future. And it does seem like the two of them are completely separated right now.
Yeah, and they're up against a calendar right now. They have to have something done by May 15th because they have to sign contracts with all of the school teachers. So that is a deadline that they're going to have to meet. So they're going to approve a budget. I think the way things appear today is that the cuts will remain. So we will have to deal with that issue once those cuts come in, because we're still going to have that 9% operational cut and materials cut. I don't know what they're going to do with the hiring freeze. Right now, we still can't get our positions through. So we have vacancies that are essential to us. So we are going to have to probably start using a temp agency to get some people just to keep the door open. If Jones's cuts were to go through, that would be devastating for us. We would have to look at some sort of way to manage those. I'm hoping that doesn't happen. But again, that would be another 200,000 on top of the cuts that we got. And then if our hands are tied with the comp and class money they're putting in for personnel, we'll be stuck. So hopefully we don't get to that point, but that's what it's looking like right now.
May I ask, Scott, can perhaps Heather get her 9th district folks together to send letters to Councilman Jones about library services?
I think that would be great. He didn't single us out though. He just took like a hatchet to the budget and cut everyone's budget who had any sort of increase so he cut everybody. It wasn't like he didn't earmark us. So I don't know if that would help, but if it stays in, that would definitely be something, a card we'd have to play.
When I went to that 9th district meeting one time, my gosh, it was packed. So there were a lot of library users there.
Yep.
And,
Okay.
they need to speak up.
Yeah. I think we do need to keep doing that. It does sound like our efforts with our city council people might be helpful, but that it's a pretty slim chance that anything's going to change, that we can affect any real change unless Michael Jones's proposal does try to go forward. That as far as that's the only thing that we really can lobby against right now until the other funds become available. Is that sort of the way it is, Scott, or
I think they're going to be up against the wall to do the budget. They're gonna do something with pay. It's either going to be the comp and class, or they're going to do an across the board and fiddle with that part of the budget. But in terms of operations, I'm not hearing a lot of changes with that. I think they're going to approve a budget, and then they're going to come back once they start seeing the details of this ARPA. I hope I'm saying that right, the American Rescue Act funds, and they're going to hopefully make adjustments like that. So I am hopeful that once we get the details of that they'll be able to put funds back in, because I don't think any of the council people or the mayor wants to damage anybody. They want to see things go better. And if they had the resources, they would give them to us. It's just that, they're in a pandemic. They have a lot of competing priorities. So that's why, it's dim right now, but if this funding comes in, they have opportunities to address these problems. And I think they will. They just have to get the details.
Right. Okay. If there's nothing else on finance, let's move to facilities with Janet. I think that that they sort of tie to finance a little bit too, but we'll talk about that as we go. Janet, did you want to jump in?
Sure. The April 7th kickoff event with the architect did not happen, so you didn't miss anything. Scott called me to let me know what was happening, because I asked him about that event. So Scott and the library staff have been busy providing the numbers requested by the architect, having to do with collection size and shelving requirements, because of course that's going to drive a lot of their design ideas, is how much shelving do you need? So they're also talking about a survey for the general public to ask them what they want in their main library building, what they would like to see happen. So the survey might involve all of us doing some work to, get the word out that there's this survey. So that is what I remember from my phone call with Scott, and he'll probably fill in all the things I have forgotten.
I don't think you've forgotten much. You've hit all the big points. You're a good note taker. Yeah, that's exactly where we're at. So they will prepare a draft survey to present to us, and we'll talk about it. They're about 3 weeks behind on their schedule. They would like to get caught up. The lead architect, Delia Novella, is supposed to provide us an updated schedule. Dexter and I were communicating with her yesterday. She's still working on that. I had a group of the architects come last Friday, and we toured the building and looked at the plans that they had in hand. 2 architects from KEI and one of the architects from Steinberg Hart was here. And so we spent about 5 hours walking the building and looking at different collections and things like that. Took them everywhere. So they are excited about it in terms of the potential that we have. We talked about our challenges and our opportunities. And we really want to see that survey provide feedback that can be used in going forward, because that is really the main part about this. And they're very eager to get together and start talking about what potential we have for this space and our collections and future programs. So I think, coming out of this was really going to help our library system.
So Scott and Janet, after the survey, is there a plan for some focus groups, or is the survey going to be it?
No, it's going to be survey and focus groups. We are trying to figure out, we want to do a combination of in-person groups and virtual groups, because that's kind of just how we'll have to proceed. But yeah, that is the timeline. We want to get that survey put together and have it in electronic format and paper format so that we can reach everybody where they're at. So yeah, that is the plan, Chris. And a schedule, that schedule that the architect is working on will come out, and I'll share that with you all when it's prepared.
Scott, it sounded when you and I last talked about it, like we hope that the architects will really have us to the point that we have some numbers that we can work with prior to some of this funding that the feds are going to start distributing. So I think that's why I say that it's really tied to finance. When we look at the capital side of things, I think the city has nothing in the way of capital right now, budget. I mean, they cut the capital budget. We don't have anything in there other than what we already had, right, Scott?
That's right. That was the point of this 3 years ago. When we put together this request, we wanted to have realistic numbers to put in a CIP in the capital improvement plan. I mean, I could go to an architect and they can write on the back of a napkin, you need $50 million, but that would be a funny number. So our proposal to the city was, let's get an architect, let's walk through the plan, let's do what the original master plan in 2007 said to do. So that's what we're doing. It's just taken us 3 years to get this part of the plan done. So once we have this, and as part of the plan, the architect is, you know, they're assessing our current situation. They're seeing, you know, what we have in terms of materials and programs and plans. And then we're going to have community feedback. And then from there, they're going to take their knowledge of the libraries that they've worked with around the world and help us develop a picture of what we could be, you know, that 21st century library, you know, a library that's going to provide Richmond Public Library the space and environment that we can be that learning organization for, and provide the traditional things that libraries have provided, but also the futuristic things that library have provided. So that's what we'll have come the end of August or September, is that picture of what this building could be. And then we need to go forward, and they'll come up with costing for it. So that's part of the proposal, is that they'll give us a ballpark figure. And then they'll also provide us with the support that we need to fundraise for it and develop for it. They're eager to meet with Susan and meet with the board and then figure out how we get this plan. And the architect said to me, she said, you know, we don't just make pictures. We want to design something, and we want to help you build it, because we want to see our pictures become reality. And, you know, it helps them if they can build the building that they design. So they want to be a part of that, and they know how to do that. So that'll be something that they'll assist us with, you know, and, you know, the foundation will also probably have to look at maybe getting outside support or figuring out how to get done what we need to do. So that's what that, you know, I'm glad you sent out that agenda for a combined meeting. That plan will be a part of that discussion. And I think developing an action plan to go forward, it will serve us for the next 3 to 5 years as we start implementing the phases of this plan, unless we can get it done and there's money at a federal level that we can get, and it might just be that stimulus that gets us what we want. I don't know. All things have to come together. I wish we'd have had this plan done a couple of years ago. We would have had some shovel-ready options, but
Scott,
I don't think it'll get away.
That's the big thing. We don't have shovel-ready options, but we really need to have some by the time we get into mid to late August. I think that we've got to get them on track. They've got to, you know, we can't let perfection get in the way of good enough here, and that we need to have those numbers so that as federal funds become available, we can really start lobbying for them. Because if having the absolute best plan in December is going to be too late versus having a really good plan in August. And I think the same is true, you know, even our board, the 3-board retreat. If we can have that information before that, maybe have some time for them to present even at that, it would make a lot of sense, because we've got a window to try to make this, and we just want to make the very best out of that, because it may not come along again for a long, long time.
I am seconding everything Bill says with the most vehemence I have. We've got to be ready to capture this opportunity.
Yep.
Thanks, guys. Any other comments about facilities? Gail, you look like you want to say
Yeah,
something.
could I just say one thing? I agree with everything you said about being ready. And I will reiterate, there is that 88-point punch list of existing safety issues like falling tiles and those kinds of things that should be eliminated with that funding. And I think that would be a good start and an incentive for people to donate to future improvements through the master plan. But anyway, I think, you know, that list should be put on the table immediately, and all those items taken care of.
Really good
We shouldn't
point,
have
Gail.
any
I
more
said
floods.
We don't have a shovel-ready list. We do. That is a shovel-ready list.
We
It's
do
not
have
a
a
big dollar
shovel-ready
but
list.
it is one that
And
we,
it's, some things are accidents waiting to happen that we don't need, and the city doesn't need to be sued over falling tiles.
good point. Okay, other comments on facilities, finance, either of those? Emily, did you have anything you wanted to say on governance today?
Nope, no update for me.
Okay, we'll jump right past that. The only unfinished business that I have on the list was the joint retreat. We've touched on that already. And any input, I sent out again this morning, I think I sent it one other time to you, the sort of preliminary agenda. So if you haven't looked at it, please take a look at it and get any comments back to us in the next few days so that we can get that along to Marshall and sort of finalize the plans, but get that moving. Any new business that anyone would like to bring up?
Bill,
Yeah.
One thing from my experience in the past with trying to coordinate these three boards in a retreat is getting a date as soon as possible. That they're busy people, and it seems to be a way for people to worm out and end up being canceled because of lack of attendance. So I think just picking a date, making sure people commit, and getting it on calendars is the best strategy.
So one thing I would suggest to that, I would ask that everybody look at their calendars for September. If you have absolute out dates that won't work, send this to us so that we can shoot that along to the foundation board. They can look at it and say, okay, here's a date that works for the majority of people, and then we can lock it in. If you don't send us that, then we run that risk of picking a date and saying, oh, well, that's, I've got a wedding that weekend.
And September is a huge month for weddings and those kinds of things. Was the thought to have it on a weekend or an evening or?
I'm in a board meeting right now. Can I call you right back?
I think the discussion was leaning toward a Saturday.
Saturday.
Susan, is
So,
that?
okay. There are 4 Saturdays. The first one is Labor Day weekend.
Right, that's out.
I'm in a meeting right now. Can I call
So
you right back?
there are 3 options.
Right.
Um,
So, and
okay.
I could be wrong about that. That was how it was left last time I discussed it with anyone, though. We were looking at Saturdays, I think. Okay, other new business or anything that we may have missed as far as, I don't think there was any unfinished business. Continue on the path we are now. Next month, the plan is that we will have an in-person meeting. If you feel really uncomfortable about it for some reason, we can look at accommodations to do a virtual, combined with it. We won't, if we do that, have individual computers at everyone's desk in the meeting. We will do, a speakerphone and put it up on the big screen. So I think we can get away from some of the conflicts we had when we did the mixed virtual and in-person meeting. But with most of us getting vaccinated and everybody having the option, pretty easy to get vaccinated right now within a short period and have at least a couple of weeks to have the first dose take effect. I really think we should try to get back in person in May. And at that, we will jump back into a little more of the strategic planning and some of those other programs and really look at the in-person side of things too, I hope more. So that's pretty much what I had. Anything else anyone would like to say before we adjourn the meeting?
Bill, could you just give a quick overview of what that strategic planning process looks like? I don't have a good picture in my head of what the schedule and timeline and how many additional meetings beyond our monthly meetings, to allot for that.
Okay, well, I'm hoping, I don't know either, not having been through it, Emily, so it's an excellent question. And unfortunately, I don't have a clean answer for you. Initially, what I thought we would do is try to walk through the current plan in the first, maybe the May and June meetings. And from that, figure out what we need to do as far as new ideas. There's been talk about getting a facilitator in for that. I don't know that we're at the point that we need to do that yet. So that's one we'll have to look at a bit. But in May, what I'd like to do is, as much as possible, take the existing strategic plan. All of you have copies of it, either electronic or physical, or both. When we run through those, and much of it we can check off and say, this is work, that's done, that's done. We decided not to do this, but knock off a lot of those things. And then we get to a broader discussion of the whole plan there, I think, as far as, what do we need to look for over the next few years that's different from what's in there. But I think it's an outgrowth of the existing plan. And as one of the foundation board members was saying to me that, it's great to do that, but it's really hard for any of us to look more than 4 or 5 years down the road, other than maybe on the facility side. So I think we're going to try to keep it as a fairly short range kind of a thing, maybe in a lot of ways.
And is the deadline for that document going to be like September, or is it December, or?
Well, I don't know that we have a firm deadline. I mean, it's an internal working document more than anything, I think. It is different from the plan that the facilities, it will provide information for us to feed into the architects who are doing work, I think. And that for that reason, I think it is important, one reason, that we get some to them. But we don't have a firm date that we have to turn this in and publish it by the end of the year. I just would like to, we really should have reviewed the old plan this COVID year, and we didn't really get through most of it. So I think I'd like to get that done first and as quickly as we can. And I don't think it's going to take that long. I would hope that in a couple of meetings, we can at least get the status of where we are understood by everyone, pretty quickly.
Thank you. That helps me have a better picture. Thanks.
It's also a mandate.
I don't know if we're going to have to do additional meetings as we get into that. I would hope that the additional meetings are coming from the different committees, and that in those, facilities may have things that they want to bring to the strategic plan, and that they come up with in their meeting outside of our regular board meetings. But I really am going to try not to add a third round of meetings for everyone, with your committee meeting, your board meeting, and then a board meeting on strategic plan. I don't want to waste anyone's time or use up a whole lot of that we don't need to.
So Bill, let me add 2 things. One is that all libraries in the state of Virginia are required to have a 5-year plan. So this is part of our requirements to get state aid. So
do we need a new one this year, or are we still operating under the existing?
We're still operating under the existing one. It goes through 2021. So we have until the end of the year to complete it, which is a good time for us. We should be able to complete this by the end of this calendar year. So we have time to do that. And everything is aligning properly. In 2011, when this was done, they were able to use the building master plan as a lever to help them in the process of the 11 through 16 plan. And then also many of the committees on the board work together to put together, review documents, review data, look at the feedback, see what was out there, and develop the 11 through 16 plan. The same thing really happened in 16 through 21. So we're just completing that process. And the timing is good, and we'll leverage the committees and library staff to get this done. So we've already begun. I have staff reviewing the 16 through 21 plan, and they're giving their feedback. By the next meeting, I'll have hopefully compressed all of that data down and digested it so that we can review it and start talking, and you guys can look at it. But the feedback and just the way we're walking through the master plan with the building, the same it'll be a similar process for the strategic plan.
Good. Thank you for that clarification. You a little more information on it than I knew that, so that's very helpful. Before we adjourn, I'm going to say, so next meeting is on the 26th of May, and it shows location TBD. At this point, I'd like to suggest we plan on doing it at Maine. If people are concerned about distance, I don't think the boardroom's that crowded, but if not, we can always move it downstairs, Scott.
Yep, that'd be fine. If we have to do it in the auditorium, we could do it in the auditorium. Right now, we're not allowing people in to use the meeting rooms, and I don't know that we'll allow that by then. Maybe Laura can talk a little bit about this. Remember, Bill, she sent us that legislation that becomes effective July 1, and I'm not sure how that is going to impact electronic meetings, or if we can have hybridized meetings with electronic and in-person.
Well, and I think for the May one, we're okay, probably either way, aren't we,
Yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
Laura?
Right, that's right. I mean, it's up to you for the main one.
so will we be able to exist in a hybrid form going forward? Is that what that legislation allows, or does it force us all to go back into in-person stuff?
Oh, I think it allows it in limit. I don't have it in front of me right now, but if I recall, it allows it in limited, for certain personal reasons and.
That's what I took it as. And
Right.
I mean, we're going to continue to probably going forward, continue to broadcast our meetings over YouTube because it just helps with transparency and creates a nice record of it. I don't think there's anything in the legislation against that.
No, in fact, I think that's probably a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent.
Thank you.
Okay, well, if no one has anything further, I'm going to adjourn the meeting. We don't have to take a vote as we're in an electronic meeting right now. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.